Coming up on 5:14 this morning, and back to our big story, President Joe Biden is no longer a candidate for re-election. This comes weeks before the Democratic National Convention in Chicago and only about 3.5 months before the general election in November. He has endorsed his vice president, Kamala Harris, to become the Democratic nominee for president. No word yet on who her running mate could be.
Right now, let's get to NBC's Brie Jackson live in Washington, D.C. this morning with more on this historic announcement. Brie, for weeks, the president, after the debate, really seemed adamant that he would not drop out of the race. How did he end up coming to the decision to step aside?
Good morning, Mimi, Jake. So the president was working closely, or at least speaking with some of his trusted advisors and family, as well as friends. But we do know there were just growing calls for the president to drop out of this race. And so yesterday he announced in a letter online that he is leaving the 2024 presidential race, no longer seeking re-election, writing in a statement, "I believe it is in the best interests of my party and the country for me to stand down." Now, the president's decision does follow weeks of calls for him to step aside, citing concerns about his poor debate performance, age, and ability to lead for more years if reelected. The 81-year-old says he's now offering his full support for his Vice President Kamala Harris to be this year's Democratic nominee. In a statement, she says, "I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump." Meanwhile, former President Trump's team, they have been preparing to run against Harris for weeks now. And we've seen the former president criticize her on the campaign trail even before President Biden ended his campaign. Now, the decision on who will be on the Democratic Party ticket will need to come fast, with the Democratic National Convention just 1 month away. President Biden will stay on for the remainder of his term, and he says he will address the nation about his decision later this week.
Brie, before you go, this now begins the race to see who is next. As you mentioned, the vice president already trying to collect the delegates that the president will leave behind. How are lawmakers and other potential candidates there reacting to this news?
Well, it seems that there's been some praise for the president's decision to step aside, being that some lawmakers have called for this, and they've thrown their support behind the vice president. There's really an effort to coalesce behind her and have a united Democratic Party going into the convention next month. But we also have seen some come out. We saw even former President Barack Obama saying that there should be an open convention. So Democrats really have to come together and decide how they are going to move forward. But the president has put his endorsement out behind Vice President Kamala Harris.
All right, Brie Jackson live in Washington, D.C. with a reaction to the news that President Biden has dropped out of his re-election bid. We appreciate your time. Thanks, Brie.
Thank you, Brie.